Jacques, thank you so much for being here today. For everyone watching, I'm joined by Jacques van der Wilt, who is the founder of DataFeedWatch. DataFeedWatch is a tool that here at StubGroup we've been using for many years, and it was recently acquired earlier this year by Cart.com, joining their group of brands that help e-commerce companies succeed in the present digital advertising age. So I've got Jacques here to talk about all things feed marketing, and specifically a very comprehensive, fantastic, and detailed feed marketing report that DataFeedWatch came out with earlier this year, looking at data across over 15,000 shops in 60 plus countries. So excited to dig into some of that. And my first question for you, Jacques, is why did this report come about? Because it's something that's very detailed. I'm sure you invested a lot of time and resources. You know, what made you give the green light to this project?
Yeah, well, thanks, John. The feed marketing report has been like my dream for many years, because I always realized, you know, we're one of the largest players in feed marketing, and whatever happens to all of our combined customers is basically the perfect image of what is happening in the market. So that means there's like less than 5 companies globally that are able to portray this picture. And I always wanted to do that. And I always knew that it would be a hell of a job. So basically only like 1.5 years ago, I decided that, you know, it's now or never. I have a data analytics department. There's like a handful of people that can contribute. I have, you know, excellent writers on the team, investigators. You know, we are well equipped to do this. You know, let's take a couple of months and do this. Of course, you know, we didn't succeed. It took like more than a year to put it together. Also to like make a test version and you know, test it with several customers, just to see if we're on the right track, if people are interested, you know, and then design it and all of that. But yeah, so finally, 2 months ago, we finished it, we released it. We had our first article on Search Engine Land, dozens, if not hundreds of articles after that. It's a big hit, and I'm so happy we made it. And but you know, more importantly, from you know, it's not about my unhappiness and my happiness. It's about how this very extensive report is going to be a huge help to every online retailer in the world.
Absolutely. And I am happy as well that you made this, because speaking from firsthand experience on our side, on the agency side of things, like you said, this data that you put together really hasn't been accessible in a comprehensive, structured way. So being able to look at things and look at benchmarks, look at findings, be able to say, oh, hey, here's, you know, opportunities across the playing field that we could leverage, or maybe here's where our client's behind in one or more areas, is really, really fascinating. And I'm curious, you know, as you've looked at all this data, as you've summarized things, what are some of the most interesting findings or statistics that you've been able to pull out of this report?
Yeah, this is a tough question, because indeed there's like hundreds and hundreds of stats in there, and there's relevancy for each stat to each, you know, type of customer, each type of territory. I'll just give you like my personal top 5. What we found is that on average, 26% of products is on sale, so it has a discounted price. That was actually more than I anticipated. You know, it's more than a quarter of all the products, and it's also interesting to see that, you know, some product types have a much higher percentage than others. So, example, the product category that is most discounted is apparel, 37%, and within that, shoes, 43%. So now you know it. You know, you're looking for shoes, almost half of them are discounted. So that's really a lot. And we think that you know, since this is a fairly recent report, it has a lot to do with the recession that we're moving into, inflation that's on everybody's mind, and discounting increasingly is a strategy for retailers to deal with the new economic environment that we're in. So that would be my first pick, 26% on sale. Then again, 16% of products, 16, is out of stock. You would have asked me, I'd say probably like 10%. So it's a bit more. But what's interesting is that the differences are like huge. So guess what is the industry that has the least products in stock? It's car parts. They have an out of stock percentage of 57%. They have less than half the products in stock. That's really horrible. Sporting goods, 40% out of stock. So that's also pretty high. We think that has a lot to do with supply chain issues that we see. Globally, car parts actually make sense because manufacturers can't even finish their cars anymore. So it's a known problem, and it's being reflected by this stat. Sporting goods, I'm not sure. It may still be that once COVID hit, we all went home and started working out, and a lot of goods were bought at the time, and we may still not have like recovered from the peak demand that we've had for the past few years. I think the stats that the stat I may like most is the next one, and that is the average shop advertises on 3.2 channels. And that's not so interesting. That's pretty much in line with what I would expect. And the differences aren't that big if you look at territories or if you look at product categories. The thing is that size matters. So very large retailers with like hundreds of thousands of products, they advertise on 10, 20 channels. So it's really true that the average guy advertises on 3 channels, but the bigger guys, they're probably also more professional. They've already found their way into way more channels. It certainly does prove the thing. The point that we've been trying to make for years. Get into more channels. And to see that it actually works like that, and that the more professional companies end up advertising on more channels. That was a cool thing to see. Then something else, 92% is on search, 54% is on social, 44% is on both. No surprise there. We all advertise on Google. However, what is the third category? It is affiliates. So affiliate networks account for like 11% of the channels that retailers advertise on. And that's actually lower than I anticipated. And I consider this one, let's say, one of the hidden gems of the report, because, opportunity is knocking. You may be on Google, you may be in Facebook, you may be in something else. Consider affiliate marketing. I'm not saying it does it for everybody, but this may be the opportunity for you to look into. Last stat is 7% of all products are being disapproved. That's also pretty much in line with what I anticipated. What is kind of nice to see is that a lot of these errors are caused by the source data in your own shopping cart, right? So if you are on Shopify, you don't get that many errors, like 5.5. And then on the other end of the spectrum is Magento. I forgot the percentage, maybe I didn't write it down deliberately, but Magento retailers, they have a lot more to fix on DataFeedWatch than Shopify retailers. So that's interesting. And then, the lower level statistic, is very useful, and it is 23% of your disapprovals on Google or other channels is because of your shipping data. It's not even really a feed issue, or doesn't have to be, but that is a lot. Images, 20%, GTIN, 19%. So there's your top 3. Check your shipping data, check your images, check your GTIN. If you fix those, your disapprovals are likely to go down by a lot. So those are like, the 5 cherries I wanted to pick, and that will have instant use, not just because they're cool stats, but also, instant use for retailers to improve their own performance.
Awesome. Yes, some of that, like you said, very surprising. Some of that makes sense, but really, really interesting seeing those numbers and being able to test assumptions. So for example, on that first stat you mentioned, discounting, it makes so much sense because people are so hungry right now for discounts with prices going up, with their their wallet being impacted by gas prices or everything else that is just taking its little pound of flesh from your budget. And so knowing that, look, if you're in the e-commerce space right now, especially if you're selling shoes as an example, most of your competitors probably have discounts out there. And so you've got to be aware of that. That doesn't always mean that you're going to discount your products. Obviously, there's a strategy behind it. But if you're seeing your sales slow and you're seeing losing market share, you really need to be aware of that discounting strategy that you might be playing against with your competitors and figuring out, okay, what do we need to do to be competitive right now?
On sale as a weapon.
Absolutely. I'd love to dig a little bit more into that hidden gem too, the affiliate marketing piece that you mentioned. That's something that most of our clients, it's really not on their radar in terms of being a channel to explore, which lines up very well with what you found, that most clients, or at least most e-commerce advertisers, are not currently leveraging that. So we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but I'd be curious, could you just kind of lay out, big picture, what does it look like for an advertiser who maybe hasn't thought about that as a channel? What does that look like for them to get into the affiliate marketing space, and where are they sending that feed from DataFeedWatch?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Lots of them haven't thought about it because they haven't thought about it because we talk about Google and Facebook, and Amazon. Obviously, we don't talk about anything else. So the good thing about advertising or selling, I would rather say, on affiliate networks, is that your CPA. You don't have to guess it. You don't have to test it. You're gonna. So basically, how does it work? So I'm a guy that does I play soccer and I blog about it every other day. That's not true. It's an example. But it could be true, right? And then since my soccer blogs are so great, I have a couple of thousands of readers every day, total audience of 50 to 100,000 people. And I'm like, gee, I could make money of that. So me as a blogger, as a content producer, I'll go to an affiliate network and I say, hey, can you guys put some ads on my blog? And yeah, sure, they can do that. So now there's going to be a soccer shoe product ads on every blog post that I create. Obviously, that's from an advertiser, right? Like Adidas or whomever. And then if my readers are done reading my blog and they click the ad and they end up buying a pair of shoes, then I as a blogger would get let's say $5. So the Adidas or whoever's selling the shoe is paying through the affiliate network $5 to me. So Adidas knows if I advertise on Jacques' soccer blog, or through this network on all soccer blogs in the world, it's going to cost me a CPA of $5. So I know I'm going to get. The more I sell, the better it is, because I can always afford another $5 out of my gross margin. So it's great for the retailer. It's great for the blogger. And it also means that it is simple for that retailer that is thinking, your customer that's talking to you and said, look, I'm on Google and Facebook. I want to try something else. Advertising, selling on an affiliate network is not difficult. It does not mean that you need to think about your bids or tweak keywords or whatever. You say, hey, this pair of shoes, $5. I'm paying $5 for it, and I'm done. So it's simple. It's not going to cost you a lot of time. You know what you're going to get. You're just going to send your data feed to Awin or to some other affiliate network, just like you did to Google. So simple and extra revenue.
Awesome. I like it, and risk free too. And like you said, your CPA every time, and you're not paying money out for advertising and then hoping that enough of that traffic will convert to make that CPA profitable. So very, very cool stat that I think will be actionable for a lot of people who are using this report.
Yeah.
Speaking of using this report, if I am a well, I am an agency. If I'm an agency, if I'm a retailer, I'm going through this report, seeing all these stats, seeing these interesting findings. How do you recommend that we use this for benchmarking and for, well, let's start out with benchmarking. How do you benchmark from this report?
Yeah, well, the ton of data that's in this report has a lot to do with taking the most important statistics and then breaking them down per category and per country. So, for example, you are in apparel, and you're having 5% of your handbags on sale. Is that good? Is that bad? Is that competitive? Is it not? So you can go into report and then find that the average on sale percentage for handbags is 10%, right? So I said apparel is like 37%, shoes was 43%, handbags is only 10%. So if you're doing 5%, you can actually do more. Everyone else is doing more on average. Then on clothing, it is 32. Home and garden, that's also a very high on sale percentage. But if you drill down to the let's say the subcategories, you'll see that, for example, in bathroom stuff, it's only 10% that is on sale, whereas pool and spa is like almost 50%. So you can drill down to category to subcategory. You can also combine it with country. Some countries have like higher on sale percentages than other countries. So where you stand. You can see if you can do a bit less in on sale or whatever, or maybe you should do a lot more in order to be competitive. So defining your own position indirectly against your competition in your category and in your country that's really one of the big values of this report. If you are a retailer in the Netherlands or in like Denmark, Sweden, Poland, those Northern European countries, then everyone is stocked very well. If you're in France or Switzerland or Ireland or Latin America, you're very much out of stock. So going back to the car parts, if you're a car part retailer and you lie awake at night that like 40% of your products is out of stock, you should read the FMR, the feed marketing report, and go, whoa, it's only for 40% because the other guys, average out on 57. So defining your position is super important. And then, another type of benchmark that I really like is the channels. So I already mentioned, it's 3.2 channels per shop on average, but a lot more if you're a larger retailer. So you can always ask yourself, for my size, for my country, am I on enough channels? Shouldn't I be doing more anyway? But you can also zoom in on what are the 10 most popular channels for your product type, and are you using those? And what I also like a lot is, in addition to the usual suspects, there's always local channels, local maybe on the US state level or, on a country level in Europe. And again, there's a complete breakdown of what the most popular local channels are per country. So you may be, totally happy advertising on Google, Facebook, and Amazon in, let's say, in Spain, but then, Idealo in Spain is a comparison shopping engine where like almost 40% of the retailers advertise, hey, you're missing out on that one, opportunity spotted. So, whatever the metric is that you're interested in, you can benchmark it on a category level, on a country level, against your peers, and that is super valuable.
That's incredibly helpful. I love the granularity of being able to dig in. And I'd recommend anybody who's watching this conversation, if you haven't already gotten that report, go get it. It's free from the website. Just enter your info, download that, and then dig into that region, that subcategory that you are in as a company, and see what is the benchmark, what are your competitors doing. One thing that sounded really interesting was the channel combination report you had. And I think it was Amazon and eBay were by far the most popular kind of combo, where if someone was doing 2 channels and it met that criteria. Yeah, 2 marketplaces, exactly. I think it was like 60% of people who were on 2 marketplaces, it was Amazon and eBay, and then everything else was way in the distance, which if you're on one or other of those platforms and not both, that's a pretty good example to you, or signal that, hey, your competitors are doing this for a reason. Probably it's probably profitable for them, and you should probably consider it as well.
Exactly. Don't miss out.
100%. Cool. Well, another thing too I love about the report is how tactical it is. So in every section, you've got links to other articles, other resources saying, hey, here's the data. Now, here's what it means. Here's how you can go actually take action upon this and improve. And I would say to you, like, what are some of the proven tactics and opportunities that you're seeing yourself, or maybe seeing other people leverage coming out of this report?
Yeah, I'll try to pace myself, because we've entered an area where I could talk for 2 hours and then still not have depleted the report, because there's so much stuff that we defined. Let me just randomly, let me start with the most obvious one and then randomly give you a few more examples. So the most optimized field in any data feed is the title.
The product title.
Yeah. So what I like about it is that, I've been telling my customers for like 10 years, optimize your title. It's the most important part. And it's nice to see that, all of our customers actually do that. Also, there's other studies that show that there's really a world to be won if you really make sure that your title is as much in sync as possible with the kind of search queries that you're getting. So, check out your search query report to see what people are actually looking for. Make sure that the most important items are on the first part of the title and all of that. And, we've seen customers who like doubled, tripled their traffic by improving their titles. So yeah, people are doing that massively. If you are not optimizing your title, sir, madam, start doing that tomorrow. If only for your 10 best-selling products, and after that for your 10% best-selling products, because there's money to be made. You leave money on the table. Another thing that is also extremely popular is to optimize your bids with custom labels. So what we found is that the most used purpose for a custom label is on sale. So basically people want to bid more or bid less for products that are on sale, or they'll create a custom label for category, or they'll create one for their best sellers. So again, that totally makes sense. It's not a big surprise, but just in case you wouldn't take my word for it, you can now read in the report that this is what the other retailers do. So it's real. Description is also obviously a very much optimized field. Something else that the majority does, 65%. Then again, I could also say, only 65% is actually excluding products from their feeds and therefore from their campaigns. If I talk to customers, for instance, if we do a demo or an onboarding call, I'll say, so do you really want to advertise all of your products? And the instant reaction is, yeah, of course. No, you don't. Why not? Well, we see that 2/3 of all retailers exclude products, and the most important field based on which they exclude is price. So basically, they are removing low-priced products from their feed, because a cheap product has a small gross margin, and you may easily have a CPA that exceeds that gross margin. As a consequence, you will be losing money every time you sell one of these products. Or you're just making a dime, then you should start sending your money to other products that are making you $1 instead of a dime. People exclude based on title, and people exclude based on availability. Now, wait a minute. Availability, excluding based on availability. John, is that good or is that bad? It depends. If you're advertising on comparison shopping engines, on affiliate networks, if you have, if you use our Google text ad service, which is feed-driven text ad campaigns, then it's all good. That's all good. But if you advertise on Google, Facebook, Criteo, TikTok, a few others that have that, that have an availability field in the feed, you should not be excluding those products. because Google says, send me all of your products and then tell me if you have them or not. And if you don't have them, availability is out of stock, I promise not to advertise them. But if you exclude them, and the next day they're in stock, and you send them back, then Google says, hey, this is a product in the feed that wasn't in yesterday's feed. So it must be a new product. So it needs to go through the approval process. So, we'll advertise it in a couple of days. So you don't want to do that. It is, it may be counterintuitive, but this is what works. So Google, Facebook, use availability, but include it in your feed. Other types of channels, use availability, or a quantity stock level to exclude. So those are the most, obvious things that may be not a surprise, but they're now like proven with data of like 15,000 shops over, dozens of countries, and those are hard learnings for everyone to compare and to live up to. And then, I made some notes, John. I know we don't have a full hour, but 88% of retailers is using a single source, meaning that, we download their Shopify feed or their CSV feed or their Magento feed, and that's it. 12%, knock, knock, who's there? Opportunity. 12% is enriching their basic product source feed with other data. So, for example, why don't you send us the CSV with all your product data, and then send us another CSV from your financial system that shows us what the gross margin is for every single product, the gross margin category. And then you can use that again, prior topic, to create a custom label to make sure that your CPA is always in line with the gross margin that you have. Same thing, excluding cheap products, excluding associated variants. Remember those? So, yes. You have like 8 sizes of a single shoe, 4 go out of stock. You want to stop advertising the other 4 just to make money. 27% of the retailers are adding additional images. 75 are not. Knock, knock. There it is again. Why wouldn't you add the second and the third image to your feed? Give Google and give most other channels as much data as you can. A quarter of all titles, when we send it off to the channel, is being truncated. So cut off after like 70 characters, right? That's okay, and if you forget, we'll do it for you, so it won't be disapproved. However, make sure that the most important attributes are within the first 70 characters. If you have a known brand, like Under Armour or Adidas, make sure it is the first word. If you have an unknown brand, put it in the end. No one's going to recognize it anyway, and then make the product type being the first part of your title. 74% of retailers can do something with that. Lots of retailers, I don't know the percentage handy, are not, they're updating once a day, which often is like more than enough. But if you have a high turnover, it does pay to update more often. So you're not selling out of stock products, and so that your prices are always in line, because Google is going to visit your site, right? They're going to say, oh, this product is like $3, and oh, it's $2.50 in your feed, right? And then they're going to disapprove it. Whereas, if it was updated on time, you wouldn't have that problem. So update more often. Let's leave it at that, John. 70% of products doesn't have UPIs like GTIN, so you get a lower priority by Google. You want to advertise in other countries? Use English. 13 to 26% of all listings are actually in English, depending on the country. So without too much extra work, you can still advertise in countries that have a different language. On and on and on. The statistics are interesting. More importantly, if you are the one that is running those advertising campaigns on Google, Facebook, on affiliate networks, on comparison shopping engines, then you're constantly thinking about, what should I advertise? How should I advertise? Where are the opportunities? And now you have basically a report full of opportunities with percentages to show who's doing this already and who is not. And then it's up to you, to grab the opportunity or to take another one.
Absolutely. And if you're a decision maker at an e-commerce company, obviously this is incredibly helpful. If you're someone who has to go to stakeholders, you're an in-house marketing person, or you're an agency like StubGroup where you have to go and say, hey, here's why we need to do something. That's where I think this report is particularly helpful. That thing you mentioned, for example, the UPI. So many of our clients, we have a hard time getting them to give us the GTINs or ISBNs or whatever it is that we need. And the more data we can have to say, look, here's why it's important. Here's what the benchmark looks like. Here's what the downside is of not providing this information in your feeds is incredibly useful, and overcoming that hesitancy to invest the time into that. And similarly too, with what you mentioned there with having more frequent updates of availability and price and things like that. I've seen a real uptick with Google in particular, Google Merchant Center recently, of suspending accounts when there are discrepancies with tax or shipping or availability. And
again, it's no longer, 7% of your products disapproved, bang, there goes your account. You are no longer advertising. That's going to cost you a ton of money.
100%. Anybody who has been suspended by Google understands the pain. Everyone who has not been in that place, trust me, you do not want to be there, because you're losing money, opportunity, sleep at night. It is not a good scenario. So I think the more proactive you can be using, especially the whole errors section. There's an entire category in this report about errors. What are the most common ones? How do you fix them? How do you prevent them? Anybody using Google Merchant Center, Facebook, et cetera, I definitely recommend going through there and getting some insights into how you can keep 100% active in your merchant account.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Jacques, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you greenlighting this project and collecting all of this data for us. Are there any other things that you want to touch on? Questions you have for me from the agency side? Anything else you want to hit before we wrap up this conversation?
I'd like to mention one more thing, John, and it is for you and everyone else who may be scared of reading an 85-page document. It's not 85 pages of text, right? It's all graphics, colorful, but still, especially for those people, we created an infographic that just focuses on the most important stats. It's still big, but you can do it in like a minute or minute and a half, and then you've got the gist of it. And I'm 100% convinced that once you've gone through the infographic and enjoyed it, you'll still go to report, not to read it, but to browse and find the statistics that you find relevant for your own business.
Awesome. Everybody go check out that infographic, datafeedwatch.com, download the report on there. Like Jacques said, find what's relevant to you, find your category, your subcategory, your region, dig in, and leverage this info to give you a competitive advantage or get you back to a competitive level with your competitors if they're beating you right now. So, Jacques, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot, John. Have a good one.
You too.